Hi everybody, my name is Ferris. I'm a writer, director, and the president of the independent production company I Don't Getcha. I'm a somewhat recent graduate from the University of Texas in Austin's radio, television, and film program, and the majority of my time at UT was spent making comedy and other goofy sort of things. However, I've always had my heart set on creating drama, especially character drama. And that brings us to my and I Don't Getcha's first drama, Texas Rancher. Texas Rancher is the story of a sequestered old farmer who kills somebody who he thinks is trying to enter into his house, only to discover that that was actually his neighbor. And now he's got to justify his innocence to the police, his loved ones, and even God. This short film's an opportunity for me to explore a new type of character. In this case, the sequestered old farmer named Kurt Cliff. I wanted to write somebody who was closer to middle age, lived in an entirely different environment than me, experienced life and thought of life in a foreign way to the way that I do, who believes in things that I don't believe in. I wanted to see that character for who they truly were, as a real person undergoing a horrible situation and being treated the same way that any other person on this earth would be treated. I also want to express some of the real life reasons that I wanted to make a movie like this as somebody born and raised in Texas. I'll set the scene by showing you guys the ranch we're going to be filming on. The sun beams overhead as Kurt walks in no rush to a fresh corpse of his creation. To a lot of people, like myself, that is a nightmare image, but to others, it can stand as a form of heroism. More and more people who I have grown up with have started collecting guns as a means of protection and hobby. Even those who solely use them for hunting nonetheless describe the owning of a firearm as a means for protecting their family and to connect themselves with a Texan culture. I've never seen these people as inherently evil or enabling of murder. However, the overly lenient Texas laws that they practice under are the same ones that allow thousands of people to be murdered every single year. The more I look into these laws, the more I envision a man who could very nearly be real. An old sequestered farmer whose ideologies entirely align with that of Texas gun laws. Will he atone for his actions? Would you, if your ideologies, the ones you grew up admiring, suddenly were considered wrong by your community? This is by far the most ambitious project that we have ever done. This one, we are going to need $14,000. The reason it costs so much is because we want to pay our cast and crew. In the past, we've relied on solely volunteer work, but now we want to hold ourselves to a much higher standard as we are making films that are of a much higher standard. Due to that, 43% of the $14,000 budget will be going to cast and crew. And after that, 30% will be going to food for catering, crafty, and so on. 20% of the budget will be going to our equipment, and 7% of the budget will be going to locations and props. These percentages were calculated by our script breakdown in order to make sure that we are not wasting a single cent on anything that isn't the production. We've spent months eagerly preparing to create this short film, so please consider donating. Any donation would help us to turn this film from a mere concept into a reality. Thank you guys, and keep an eye out for Texas Rancher.